happy to be here at SOAP, although I'm not really happy about the time, being here for the first time and being the last person before lunch, when the audience is already kind of hungry, angry. I'm Kasia Lelonek. I'm Technical Enablement Manager at Akamai, and this is how I look when I'm relaxed versus now. Okay, so let's go. So COVID-19, right? Everybody knows what I'm talking about. It affected us all, whether by not seeing our relatives, working at home for months, or working remotely. And this in turn affected all industries, learning being no exception here. So this is exactly what I'm going to talk to you about today. What challenged us as our team in Akamai? What did we do with the challenges? How did we do? And what we learned in the process? And what lies ahead? So as I mentioned, I work at Akamai, and our company provides technical solutions, internet-based technical solutions. And our team is responsible for creating training for these solutions. So we are responsible for creating training that would enable our customers to configure, deploy, and maintain the solutions that we offer. And before COVID struck, we were actually offering 3 different types of training. These were instructor-led trainings, in-person instructor-led trainings, of course, virtual sessions, and customized on-site sessions with our customers. And I've got a question here for you. What do you like most about live events like this one?
People.
Okay, people.
Free coffee.
Free coffee, okay. Okay, so actually, believe me, more often than not, the response that I hear to this one is food and networking. And actually, our in-person sessions at Akamai were, apart from learning, of course, were about food and networking. We were organizing learning events where people were gathering for breakfast. They were interacting with other people. They were meeting their, the customers were meeting their company representatives. So it was not only about learning as such, it was about interacting, and COVID took it all away. So our team, prior to COVID, was already in the process of redesigning, modernizing, and improving the content of the trainings that we had. And we had a plan, and then there was COVID. So we had a plan, but as Mike Tyson said, everyone has a plan until they get punched in the mouth. So what was our mission? Our mission was to retain the number of attendees and maintain the level of customer satisfaction. But how to do that? We were challenged. We had several challenges here. Inconsistent courseware, suboptimal virtual delivery platform, deficient VILT experience, missing global content and delivery approach, and incomplete transfer to a 100% VILT delivery modality. And I'm going to dig into those a bit now. So first of all, the courseware. Prior to COVID, a lot of people from our company generated content for us. These were different teams that not necessarily had anything to do with the content creation, but our instructors are not instructors as such. They not are instructors by profession. They are our company employees, usually solution architects, solution engineers, willing to teach for us and create content for us. That was the case before COVID. So, as you can imagine, with different people creating content, the content was, disparate. It was different. So first of all, what we had to do, and as Rahel yesterday said, it was very important to create a consistent course structure, right? Where you have content coming from different people, different input, what you have to do is make the content consistent, make it coherent. So we introduced a consistent course structure, and we also had to introduce a template, because the different teams were, of course, not following any branding guidelines, any instructional design methodologies, of course, because they were not trained for this. So we introduced a new template. This is an example of what we did with the content. So on your left, this is the earlier version. On your right, this is the later version. Hope you like the later one better, because otherwise it didn't make sense what we did. So this is yet another example. We introduced agenda that looked less like a snake game on your Nokias back in the day. Then the VILT platform. So because everybody went online and everybody started working remotely, there was a significant strain put on the VILT platforms. So what we had to do, we had to ensure stability for our content delivery online. So we had a two-pronged approach. First, we improved VILT delivery on the current platform, and then we ensured continuity of operations by providing a backup platform. So we provided additional global entry points so that the content was delivered with smaller latency, and the delivery was the content was delivered more smoothly. Then the continuity of operations platform, a backup platform that we had pre-configured for the participants in case the primary platform failed, and it happened a lot. I'm not going to name this platform. Or the experience degraded considerably. Then the VILT learning experience. As I said, we offered ILT trainings and virtual ILT. These were actually the same trainings in terms of content, but do you teach the same in person and virtually? Not really. So we had to do something to make the make the learning experience more engaging, more immersive for the customers. So we expanded the hands-on elements. We added polling, we added discussion points, we added use cases so that the audience became more engaged, more focused on what was actually delivered. The content was relatable, relevant to the audience. We made sure of that. And I don't know if you remember Tomek's presentation from yesterday. Tomek is here. So Tomek works in the same team with me, and he made sure to introduce Markdown to our trainings. So all our labs became in HTML format. Then two innovations that we introduced to the program, very important ones, was the LVS, and LVS is Lab Validation System, and the Training Facilitator. And let me start with the Training Facilitator. So our trainings were usually run by two instructors. First, the primary, senior, more technically able one, and the second one, the secondary was usually a junior. And there was a problem because our sessions were usually attended by roughly 30 people. So as you can imagine, with heavy technical content, lab activities, that was just too much to handle even for two people. So we introduced a training facilitator that actually helped the instructors unload the burden and made sure that the lab activities were executed seamlessly. And the LVS. LVS actually is something that we are very proud of. It is an in-house application that basically runs checks on customer configurations that they are tasked to prepare during class. So every time a new topic is introduced, a reinforcing hands-on lab follows, and the customer can check whether the configuration that they created actually made sense. If not, they were asked by a secondary instructor to a breakout room, and they were helped to execute the labs successfully. Then the global approach. As I said, we were missing one. So our classes were usually delivered in the British or American time zone because we had more customers in those regions. But we actually observed that during COVID, a lot of people were attending the sessions from outside of the time zones and outside of the geographic regions that we assumed would be interested in VILT training. So we decided to add more time zones to our timetable, for example, Australian time zone. And as you can see here, it made the audience triple from 2019 to 2021. So we were also able to schedule additional 32 virtual sessions in the APJ region. Also, we decided to localize the content. This is something that we never did before because our primary language is English, and we always taught our customers in English, but we observed that more and more customers are interested in our content in the APJ region, and they are actually surprised that they need to learn the materials in English. So we decided to run the translation for the Japanese as first, and then for the Greater China. So we translated the content in Mandarin Chinese. Then transfer to 100% virtual delivery. This is something that was very difficult for us. Difficult not really in terms of technical issues, although they also existed. But there were some cultural considerations that we had to have. So first of all, the APJ region never learned virtually pre-COVID. As you maybe know, the Asian people are more into in-person relationships. They value in-person learning more because of the social interaction, because of the contact that they have. So it was very difficult for us to persuade them that this is actually a good offering, this is something that may help them. But of course, COVID changed that with the global lockdown and them not being able to attend classroom workshops. So to aid them, to encourage them to take the virtual classes, we organized train-the-trainer sessions where we met with the instructors that were willing to teach, and we taught them how to operate the platform, how to engage with students, how to interact with them, how to present the content effectively. We also created how to teach tutorials. So these were tutorials on delivering content virtually, on what to direct your focus on during virtual sessions. And we also enabled them to shadow other instructors. So every instructor or future instructor that was interested in teaching had this opportunity to shadow seasoned instructors. And as you can see, that eventually made the APJ region go virtual in 2021. Americas, of course, was virtual as well. With EMEA, there is a difference because we were able to schedule 3 classrooms in 2020 before COVID started. So that was early February. This is actually a screenshot from one of the tutorials, how to teach virtually. So that focuses on the operations of the platform, how to use the materials, and how to interact with the audience to engage them, to actually make them immersed in the training. So how did we do? First, how can you measure if a training is successful? Of course, data. You need to rely on data. It's not about, smiles and customers saying, oh, that was a nice training. You need to have solid data to back it up. So first way of us determining whether a training was successful was a reliance on technical support group. So every customer has the opportunity to call our technical support line and submit tickets. So what is the relation between training and ticket submission? The fewer tickets, the more satisfied customer is, the more solution proficient the customer is. So we learned that 66% of customers whose representatives participated in AU classes reduced case submission. So that was the first key metric for us. Second, student reaction survey. We introduced a survey upon the class closure, and this was a survey that, okay, we asked whether they liked the training. Everybody wants some, recognition, after all. But the important change in the survey was moving away from CSAT evaluation to NPS score. And this NPS score looked like this. When we introduced it in 2020, we were at 42. In Q4 2021, we landed at 51, and Q1 of 2022 opened with 58. So the NPS, anybody knows what NPS is? Net Promoter Score, great. And what does it say? Not really how satisfied you are.
How likely you will recommend.
Yes. How likely you are to recommend the training to your colleagues, right? So, as I said, it's not about liking the training. It is whether you say, yes, go to this training because it was valuable, because it made me actually learn something, right? It was worthwhile. So we introduced yet another metric, training impact evaluation survey. So what is the difference between student reaction survey and the impact survey? Any ideas? So with impact evaluation survey, our customers are contacted 30 to 60 days after they have completed the training, and we ask them, what is the extent to which you have actually applied the knowledge learned during the training? Whether you actually found it valuable at all. Because the training may be nice, the instructors are really the rock stars, even though they're not instructors by education. And it may be, a natural feeling that you like the training because the instructor was cool. But then you go back to your job and you're like, okay, how do I do that? How do I perform this configuration? How do I deploy this thing? What do I do with that? So what you're actually interested in is the job transfer. Because the fact that someone completed the training doesn't mean that the training was good. Even if they passed the quiz at 100%. Okay, maybe the questions were easy. Or you wrote the quiz wrong, right? What you're interested in is their long-time satisfaction after the course because they were helped by your training. They learned something. The training made them perform their job better. And what we learned was actually pretty cool. 80% of students considered knowledge gained during the training as applied on their job. 80%. Come on, guys. And a bit of a program efficiency. So the virtualization of the content. So every change that we did to the content, every use case, discussion point, virtualization of labs, boosted the learning experience by 27%. And of course, the most important thing for the execs, right? So fine, you've got the survey, everybody likes your training, yes, the customers are excited. What does it say to the executives? Well, it says that the average service net MRR, monthly recurring revenue, per customer who participated in the training was above $80,000, whereas the MRR for customers who did not participate in the training, 4 times less. It says something, right? Even for the execs, who are usually not that impressed, but they kind of were. So what did we learn in the process? First of all, what can go wrong will go wrong. It's Murphy's Law, right? And with COVID, it's even worse. You don't need a plan B, you need a plan C. You need to be prepared for every possible scenario that may happen. So you need to really be, strong, stay strong. Learning program is all about effectiveness, impact, and continued improvement. It's not about customer satisfaction. It's about their knowledge. It's about the job transfer. It's about them being able to perform the job better. And us improving the program constantly, right? Not being complacent. What we want is job transfer, and completion is not a measurement. I already explained that. I mentioned that before, right? And training must be relevant and relatable. And the last one, it's not about technology, it's about data. I think too many of us in the training industry focus on tools. How do you pick tools to make the training, edgy? How to make it modern? How to make it impressive for the customers? In the end, it's about data. Whether you teach people certain things and whether they learn certain things and whether they show you in the service later on that it actually worked. So, where are we sailing? This is my attempt at the forecast, what's going to happen based on my observations, based on my conversations with people in the same industry. Hybrid training. We need to diversify the training for a diversified audience. Yes, we came back to the office. Yes, we are opening our workshops, in-person workshops. But not everybody is interested in that. People became picky. So we have to diversify what we offer to still be interesting to our customers. Learning in the flow of work. Does anybody know this term? What does it say? What do you think it says? Learning practically, yes. Learning when you actually perform your job. So when you are challenged at work with a task, then you go and learn bits and pieces for this particular task. So you're not opening a whole e-learning module or, God forbid, 2-day workshops, right? You go and you identify a piece of information that would give you the knowledge that you need for this given moment. And this term was coined by Josh Bersin. I really encourage those of you who are interested in training to Google this person. And it basically means learning in the workflow, learning in the moment where you work. Learning in VUCA. Anybody heard the term VUCA? It's another, yes, okay. It's another military term that enters our daily life. So VUCA means volatile, uncertain, complex. Sometimes it also means chaotic and ambiguous. So this is the environment for us, training people, where we need to execute successfully. It means that we need to be prepared to be adaptive, to be agile, again, not to be complacent. Jump the curve. No growth is sustainable. If the trend is going up, it will definitely go down. So change before you have to. And most of all, both for teachers and learners, learn and relearn. And that's it. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Do we have any questions? The first one is here. Where is the guy with the microphone? Okay. Oh, okay. Okay, can we start here?
Hello, my name is Bálint from Budapest. In the beginning of your presentation, you mentioned that one of the first parts of this effort that you did in your company was the introduction of a unified look and feel. And I was just curious if that included the harmonization of tone and writing style, because in my experience, unlike with user assistance, to training materials, people pay a lot more attention, they read it more thoroughly, and also in my experience, if multiple writers or training professionals work on the same training material, the trainees, they really pick up these stylistic differences if they exist, and it really throws off their concentration. And I was just wondering if your company was concentrating on this area.
That's actually an excellent question. So thank you for that. Of course, we had to, first of all, we gathered all the materials that we had, and together with the course structure, and I should have mentioned that, we also had to determine what is the language that we need to use. And actually, I was sitting here today listening to Schumann, and I was thinking whether we can simplify the language that we're using now even more. Of course, training is different than documentation because you need to have a bit of storytelling. You need to engage the audience. So you cannot just, refer to verbs and nouns as such. You need to be more interactive. You need to be more, as I said again, engaging. So yes, we unified the language, but I think we can do a bit more. I think we can have in mind the fact that we have global audience now, and that people have different language proficiency. So maybe we can kind of carve out things that we as English majors, because usually these are the people that have to do with training. I'm myself an English major. We have this urge to have this Shakespearean language and, use colorful words, and then we're so proud of ourselves and we congratulate ourselves. But we don't often think that there's end user, right? That needs to understand the language and learn the skill and not to be impressed with the wording.
Yeah, but in training materials, it is very important to catch the attention of the interest of the trainee and keep it up. But in user assistance, the importance of simplified technical English is that, or the main selling point is that user assistance is usually read at the time of need.
Yes.
When one of my friends, Orlando Chiarello, who's an ST evangelist himself, he said that user assistance is read when the user's blood pressure is up in the 200s and his IQ is down in the 70s. So that's why you need to have very simple, easy to read instructions and troubleshooting available to them. Definitely the ST
can be introduced to the labs, right? Lab manuals are technical documentation, right? So, Tomek, there's a task for you. But I think in training we need to be more of storytellers.
Okay, Pavel, it's your chance.
Awesome, thanks. Great presentation, really enjoyed it. Thank you very much for including the dollar signs. And that's what I'm interested in. Could you expand a little bit on what the monthly recurring revenue was? Did you observe that, for example, you have a set of clients and the people who did not attend your trainings, maybe they just started using fewer and fewer of your services, thus, lowering the revenue? Or was it conducted on a batch of new customers and you saw that people who attended the trainings, maybe they were so happy with the product thanks to the trainings that they bought more? What was the actual correlation?
Thank you for the question. It was actually, the correlation is between the attendees of the training and their ability to become self-sufficient over time. And when they became self-sufficient, they bought more of our services, actually, because they were, we correlated that with the service, right? So they were eager to buy our products because they were, they believed that they can configure them, that the training that goes with the product is worthwhile. So that was the primary correlation. And also the representatives of the customers, right? So there's always this situation when a person that attends the training goes to the manager and influences the buying decision. So there's also that.
Okay, Ray?
Yeah, I don't really have a question, but I have a comment that I think needs to be said publicly. I want to congratulate you for being nimble enough and adaptable enough to make your changes, technological and pedagogical, much faster and much more ably than the education community, whether it be schools or universities, was able to do.
Thank you.